What is going on, everybody? What is going on? The Catch fam. Hope you guys are doing phenomenal tonight, man. Hope you guys have all had a great Wednesday. Hope you guys are ready for another live 2023 fantasy football mock draft with you guys, of course, with the Catch fam. Super excited to hop into tonight's draft with you guys. We're just rolling with a standard 12-team full PPR redraft format. So you guys know what it is. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk some fantasy football. Do me a big favor. Hit that like button on the way in. If you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button on the way in as well. But most importantly, hop in the live chat. Let me know what's popping. Let me know how you guys are doing. Got a little bit of fantasy, well, NFL news, I should say, to go over that is a little bit fantasy relevant. But outside of that, man, we're going to draft tonight. We're going to have some fun. Talk some fantasy football, like always, right? So let's get right into it. Looks like most everyone is here. I'll let you guys know on Discord we were kicking off at 10:45 p.m. and I was 2 minutes late. So let's go ahead and start the mock draft. We have got that underway. I'll go ahead and hold off just for a second here so I can make this selection. I want to kind of switch it up tonight. I'm going to stay away. I got the 1.2. I'm going to go Justin Jefferson. Stay away from the running back position at the beginning of the draft here, and we'll see what happens. So thank you guys so much for coming out tonight, spending part of your night here at the channel. And thank you to those of you who did join the mock draft tonight through Discord. All right, so taking a look, right, we have the Jets sending wide receiver Elijah Moore to the Cleveland Browns. So my prediction for the last, ever since we really got the news that Rodgers is going to the Jets, presumably, right? My prediction was that Elijah Moore would be part of that trade package to the Green Bay Packers, but ultimately he is not going to be. And I guess when you look at it from the Packers' perspective, they've got two young receivers in Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, so potentially they did not feel like they needed Elijah Moore. Who knows? But at the end of the day, the Jets could also just be shopping, potential players that the Packers might be interested in. But really more to the Packers, just my own pure speculation. So at the end of the day, I think this is a good move for the Browns. And I think it's a good move ultimately for the Jets as well, as they continue to add some more veteran-esque wide receivers, like just going out and getting Allen Lazard. But at the end of the day, we know that Elijah Moore is a little bit disgruntled with the Jets last season. So it's a good, opportunity for the Jets to move on from Elijah Moore, who's a young, talented receiver, and he goes to a good spot in the Cleveland Browns, who's, don't get me wrong, their offense at the end of the season under Deshaun Watson at the quarterback position wasn't necessarily impressive, but with him being able to line up with Donovan Peoples-Jones as well as Amari Cooper, David Njoku, and still having Nick Chubb in that backfield and a decent offensive line as well, I do think it's a good, football move for the Browns and a good landing spot for Elijah Moore to really maximize his skill set as well. So when we think about Elijah Moore, right, we saw lots of flashes in his rookie season, and then last year just ultimately a disappointing year, just wasn't utilized the same, right? But when we look back at his rookie season, 77 targets, 43 receptions, 538 receiving yards, and 5 receiving touchdowns. But a lot of that came on at the end of the season before he was injured towards the end of the year. Beginning of the year was not impressive, but you really saw him start to heat up. And then going into last season, he was a receiver that a lot of us were looking at in later rounds of fantasy mocks. And then we go to last season, 2022, 65 targets, 37 receptions, 446 receiving yards, and just 1 touchdown. But obviously the Jets did add Garrett Wilson to the offense, a multitude of quarterbacks, right? So listen, at the end of the day, I still think Elijah Moore, there's something to be excited about there, right? Especially with the change of scenery. So at the end of the day, a good football move for the Jets and the Browns, right? And definitely some fantasy implications at the end of the day for the Browns. So we've got the poll running. Which wide receiver are you guys going after at this point in time? I know this is fresh news. Donovan Peoples-Jones, or Elijah Moore, right? Because I love DPJ last season, right? Like every week on the waiver wire, all I would talk about was pick up DPJ. I just couldn't believe week after week last season we were still talking about DPJ. Had a very consistent season. And I still think he's in a good position. He showed some really good chemistry with Deshaun Watson last year as well. So, listen, I don't want to like overreact to Elijah Moore, but I'm interested to see where his ADP lands tonight. I personally, I don't know if it's going to change too much because you go from, you know, at the end of the day, go from having, I don't know, I'm just trying to think at the end of the day, right? We knew that he was going to be with Aaron Rodgers potentially as kind of a wide receiver 3 on that offense. And now with him going to the Browns with Deshaun Watson at quarterback, and he's still kind of in that wide receiver 3 range unless he steps up and takes over the wide receiver 2 spot. But I don't see that happening with Garrett Wilson and Allen Lazard there. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens ultimately. Let me go ahead and make this draft pick. I mean, I just don't think I can pass up Derrick Henry at 2.11. Is that crazy? I wanted to start out kind of heavy wide receiver tonight, but with Henry sitting there, I just don't think I'm able to pass him up. Listen, I get the hesitation with Henry. We see a lot of wide receiver talent off the board before that pick at 2.11. We see a lot of youth at the running back position off the board as well. So I get it. It's not like completely out of the question that he fell out there, but I love him at that value. But I'm going to back him up with a younger running back there in Travis Etienne. All right, so there's your big news of the day. Elijah Moore headed to the Browns. All right, let me hop into the live chat. Walito, what's going on, man? Well, I'm trying to figure out who's on your avatar there. It's DeAndre Swift. Is that Brandon Cooks? You got to let me know. Thank you so much for the $5 donation. Let's have fun in this one. I have the 1.4 starting things off with JT and Jalen Waddle. I think it's a great start. And now there you are on the clock at 3.4. But thank you so much for the super chat. I really, really do appreciate that, my dude. So glad to have you. It's Swift and Cooks. Okay, there we go. There we go. Glad to have you in the draft tonight, man. And Tony Pollard, another great value there, 3.4, my God. All right, let's see here. We got Taylor in the house. Emil, Godfather, hello. Appreciate you guys coming out tonight. Appreciate those of you who are able to join the mock tonight. Marco's in the house. What's going on? Rolito, hope I'm saying that right, by the way. Hope you're ready to see me on this draft. Hey, super excited, of course. Marco, just secured the number 2 overall pick in my Dynasty League. If this is your first year drafting that league, that's great news. Going to be able to, you know, assuming that's a Superflex league, lock up a very good quarterback. Mahomes, Josh Allen, Hurts, Burrow, whoever you want, essentially, who doesn't go at 1.1, obviously. So it's a great spot for sure, especially if you're not doing third round reversal. If you are, it's not the end of the world, but if you're not, then you're going to be able to secure a lot of good value at the end of the second round and a lot of good value at the start of the third round as well. So I'm glad to hear it, man. Thomas, what's going on, my guy? How are you doing, man? Box and the Jack, what's up? Appreciate you guys being here tonight. How's everyone doing? Thomas, Jets got that second round pick in the deal. Also could come into play for getting A-Rod. That's a good point. That's actually a very solid point. Yeah, so essentially, like, the Browns only moved back. It's like less than 40 spots in the draft. I actually thought at the end of the day, like, it was a pretty good trade for the Browns, right? Because they didn't have to move back that far, although they come out of the second round into the third, but like they're still not moving back too incredibly far. And they get Elijah Moore, right? And when you look at like the value of the wide receiver position right now and how cheap they're getting Elijah Moore, I think it's a good move for them. So, but that's a good point. Could come into play, absolutely. I mean, Elijah Moore, good wide receiver, but not consistent. Yeah, and that's why I really think it's a good landing spot, right? Because he's not going to have a ton of defensive pressure on him whatsoever because you've already got Cooper, DPJ, and Njoku lining up there. So, like I was kind of saying earlier, when I was trying to collect my thoughts, like it is kind of a similar situation from the Jets to the Browns, though. Because you think about the Jets last year, like you had Garrett Wilson's wide receiver 1. And I guess what I'm thinking of is going to this season, you were going to have Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard now, and then Elijah Moore. And last year, I feel like Corey Davis was more relevant than Elijah Moore. So kind of a similar situation. So, you know, Rodgers versus Watson is an interesting debate at this point in both of their careers from a fantasy perspective. But I just feel like Elijah Moore's ADP isn't necessarily going to change very much. But we shall see. Albert, what's going on, my guy? Hello, hello. Bossman says Garrett Wilson over Amon-Ra is crazy. Yeah, I mean, people have the conviction right now in Wilson, which I'm fine with, but I'm personally going Amon-Ra. I agree with that. But that tier of Wilson, Higgins, Waddle, even Olave and Devonta Smith is very interesting. And Metcalf's just the guy year after year. He just continues to fall back in drafts. So, all right, let me take a look here, make this selection. Where do I want to go? I've got 2 running backs and a receiver. I wonder where Jerry Jeudy's going to land. So also some reports coming out today that the Chiefs are taking a strong look at both DeAndre Hopkins and Odell Beckham. So we'll see what happens there. Man, you guys have just decimated the wide receiver position. Like, do I just pick Terry McLaurin because? Do I go with another running back here? I mean, it's kind of... It's gross. Oh my gosh. I'm just going to pick Chris Godwin. I mean, I'm not in love with that pick, but I just want another receiver because, you know, going into 5.2, like, there's some good talent here, but by the time I draft again at 6.11, I just don't know what's going to be there. And there goes Amari Cooper. Like, ooh, a little ugly out here, man. All right, I guess I'll go running back here. I don't know, man. I'm going to go Justin Fields. I'm just going to switch it up tonight. I was interested to see, like, if I don't go Fields there, does Trevor Lawrence fall out to the next turn? Trevor Lawrence goes at 5.3, so I'll just go Fields there. An interesting start for me, right? JJ, ETN, I get a little bit of youth. Henry and Godwin, I get some veterans. And I mean, I'm all for Fields, so I'm fine with that. But an interesting start, to say the least, for tonight's mock. Taylor says almost went Henry over Amon-Ra. That would have certainly been interesting considering Henry fell out to 2.11. But Taylor sitting with Kupp, Amon-Ra, Olave, and Moore is just absolutely wild. Let's see. Coast to Coast, what's up, man? How are you doing? Hello, hello. The Jets had back-to-back picks in the second round now. Okay, that's a good point. I didn't see that aspect of it, says Walito. So, yeah. I would not be surprised if that one of those 2 picks gets shipped in some direction, right? We'll see what happens, so. Marco, rookie draft. I'm in desperate need of a young running back because I got Eckler and Henry, so I'll probably get Gibbs. And also get to keep my 1.7. Okay, that's great. Yeah, having the 1.2 and the 1.7, very, very, very favorable there. So that's what's up. Especially, like, I mean, you know better than I do about the teams in your league, but if whoever has the 1.1, if they have a massive need at a position that's not running back, maybe Bijan falls out, but I think in like 98.9% of leagues, Bijan's going to go with the 1.1. Unless, like, that team, it has to be really unique to your league if that team is just loaded at running back, super young running backs. And even then, like, if they go Bijan, it's not even crazy, you know. But rooting for you, man. And Gibbs at 1.2, I'm fine with that as well. So when do you guys draft? Do you draft after the NFL draft or before? Well, you know, I love Hollywood around this end of the 4th, start of 5th range. D-Hop getting traded sets him up well. 100% agree with you. I almost went Hollywood over Godwin. I do feel like Godwin is a little bit more of a safer floor in terms of consistency on a weekly basis, where Hollywood is giving you that upside, right? A little bit of risk, but upside, and a little bit of injury risk too. But my slight issue with Hollywood, who everyone who's been drafting with me so far off season will tell you that I absolutely love Hollywood Brown, but my slight issue is we don't know how long Kyler's going to be out, and I do think that a lot of Hollywood's success last season was from the chemistry between him and Kyler. So I think, like, I love the value of Hollywood in underdog drafts right now, and best ball drafts, I guess I should say. because I think towards the end of the season when Kyler's back and both of them are healthy and on the field, Hollywood Brown's going to be just fine. Like when we look at what Hollywood did last season, he was on fire. You know, the end of the season was rough, but they also had a really tough schedule at the end of the season. But weeks 1 through 6, he had 11 or more fantasy points in every game with a ceiling of 28 points. So I think Hollywood's going to be just fine. And I agree with you. Great value there at the 5.4. So, all right, where do I want to go here? Couple players floating around that I like. I'm going to take another young running back here behind Henry. I'll go Pacheco. And then I need to shore up a receiver. Some pretty good tight end talent on the board right now. Obviously, we got quarterback knocked out. Yeah, we're going to be drafting a receiver like with one of the 2 picks at each turn here because I mean, don't get me wrong, we're led by JJ, we're good there, but right now we're just sitting with Godwin, and like I wasn't even super confident in that pick. So couple guys I like sitting here. Let's go George Pickens and hope he takes a sophomore leap next year. But I'm happy with Pickens at 7.2. All right, into the 7th round we go. Let's do it, guys. All right, let's see here. Taylor says no, I was going Fields. Yeah, it's interesting because I almost didn't go Fields, like I said, just to see if T-Law would fall out. Because we've done a couple redraft mocks where Lawrence falls out to like the end of the 6th, beginning of the 7th, which is just crazy value to me. But 5.3 I think is very, very sufficient for his ADP. So I'm glad I went Fields there. If I didn't go Fields, it actually probably would have been Hollywood Brown or Christian Watson, maybe Lockett, maybe Drake London. But nonetheless, I'm all for Fields next year, so I'm happy with that pick right there. Chase is in the house. What's up, man? Great to see you. Great to have you. What's going on with you, my dude? Hello. Yeah, lots. I mean, so it's like interesting because Lamar Jackson's still on the board, right? So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 quarterbacks gone. And earlier in the offseason, like you saw the cutoff at Lamar Jackson. Now we're getting that cutoff at Justin Herbert. And you get a pretty good pause at the quarterback position after Herbie goes. And Lamar, like it just depends on who you're drafting with. Sometimes goes shortly after, sometimes doesn't go for another 2 or 3 rounds, like almost what we're seeing tonight. So, and then you have a mix of like Tua and Prescott, and basically the next tier just kind of comes out in the next coming round. So it's interesting to see. Let's see. How do you feel on Ridley versus Kirk? It's a very good question. If you guys have been following me in the mock drafts this offseason, I'm leaning Kirk. And you guys know that I'm pretty big on value when it comes to ADP. So when we look at tonight's mock, Calvin Ridley going at the 3.11, Christian Kirk going at 4.7. So here's kind of the thing, right? Like listen, love Calvin Ridley. Don't get me wrong. I think Ridley's going to be great for this offense. But Christian Kirk is the wide receiver who already has experience within this offense, within the scheme, knows the playbook a little bit, and most importantly, has a year of established chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. So I think that holds a ton of value, right? I think Ridley's going to be fine, but I think it might take him a couple of weeks to get going. So, but obviously Ridley, a ton of upside. Like, I totally get why people are going after him. But when I'm looking at mock draft boards, and I'm seeing Christian Kirk going anywhere from an entire round to 3 rounds after Calvin Ridley, I'm going with Kirk. I just am. It's just better value in terms of ADP overall. Now, Kirk went a little bit earlier than he does in most mock drafts tonight at 4.7, but it's not too crazy. Like, I'll tell you guys that much. If Christian Kirk was available at 4.11, I would have taken him for sure. So, listen, when we're looking at things from a pure fantasy perspective, and as we're progressing through the offseason, working up to our drafts for the year, I'm going to look at value, and I think that Christian Kirk is the better value at the moment. So I think both are going to be great for that offense, Chase, but in terms of the receiver that I'm targeting or that I'm drafting, it's going to be Christian Kirk. Emil, thoughts on Chicago's backfield? Emil, I would be willing to put money down that they are going to draft a running back. So Currently, I do think that they're in a decent spot. I think at this point in the offseason, you're drafting Khalil Herbert going into his 3rd season. Lots of flashes so far in his career. Obviously, the signing of Donta Foreman makes things interesting. I think that Foreman is going to have some safe floors throughout the year, and I think that Herbert gives you a little bit of upside, a little bit of risk as well. But like I said, I do believe personally that it's just such a deep running back class. They're going to add some sort of talent at the position to that backfield without a doubt. So I would love to see like Zach Charbonnet land there, but there's just so much depth at the running back position. There's going to be studs throughout this entire draft that can definitely help out a young offense right away. So at the moment, like Khalil Herbert going at 7.6 tonight, in between Javonte Williams, Rashad White, Akers, Zeke, which I think was an accidental auto pick, and Dobbins. I'm fine with him in that range. I probably like Akers a hair more, Rashad White a hair more. But like, it's interesting when you see guys like Herbert versus Cook, for example, Herbert versus Dillon, other kind of by history committee backs. I won't be surprised if we see Herbert in a committee backfield this year, so to speak. All right, where do I want to go here? I'm going to take a tight end. I'm going to take Freiermuth. Almost went with another receiver there, but after going Pickens and Lazard, I feel okay, right? Henry, Etienne, Pacheco, a couple decent running backs on the board, but like I don't feel like I'm going to miss out too much by not going running back until the following round. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's see here. Let's see. Marco says Goddard at 8.4, the steal of the draft. Yeah, so I will say the overall ADP of tight end's kind of interesting tonight. So we see Kelsey at 1.6, nothing crazy there. But then we don't see another tight end off the board to 4.3 in Mark Andrews. I mean, that's a pretty steady drop. I mean, almost an entire 3 rounds. So Hawkinson goes at 5.11. And Kittle goes at 6.12. Pitts all the way at 7.5 tonight. I mean, you guys know I'm not a fan of Kyle Pitts, but at 7.5, there's definitely an argument in full PPR just to take him right away. I think that's a great value. But I would definitely say Goddard at 8.4 is my favorite value of the night for sure. For sure. Waller goes 8.9. Schultz at 8.10. Freiermuth at 9.10. Ingram at 9.7. So overall, pretty good value. The tight end position tonight, undoubtedly. So, all right, let's see. Drafted from the 1.12 sucks. My team's not looking great, says Cats. I don't think your team looks that bad. Yeah, you shore up a tight end and just continue to get depth at receiver and running back. I think will be fine. Yeah, I mean, you get Njoku and Bateman there. I don't think your team looks that bad. A little thin at running back, but so am I. Well, I think you're all right, man. So let's do it. Into the 10th round we go, ladies and gentlemen. Just so you guys know, did kind of switch up the roster settings for the night. So no kicker, no defense, just because like at this point in the offseason, I mean, I know a lot of you guys who play in redraft leagues have a kicker and defense, which I do as well. But at this point in the offseason, like there's just no conversation that really comes from drafting kickers and defenses. So I just added 2 extra bench spots. So just so you guys know, instead of 5 bench spots like we usually roll with, there are 7 total. So be a couple extra rounds just to continue to extend some fantasy conversation throughout the stream. All right, so let's take a look at things here. So I was hoping, you know, I should have kind of honed in a little bit more there. At the 9.2, probably should have gone Kenneth Gainwell. Like that's the pick I would have been a little bit happier with. But Ingram going at 9.7 makes me feel not too bad. If Cole Kmet falls out to 10.11, like I would have ultimately been happier with Kenneth Gainwell at 9.2 and Cole Kmet at 10.11. But it's always good to switch it up, right? But I was interested as soon as I picked Freiermuth. I was like, oh man, I hope Gainwell falls out. But that's not going to happen. And it is interesting though. Rashad Penny goes at 9.4. Kenneth Gainwell goes at 9.8. So when we're looking at that Eagles backfield at the moment, obviously Boston Scott's there as well. And on top of that, like, I know I keep saying this about like multiple teams, but I will not be surprised if the Eagles draft a running back in this draft. So, but right now, looking at things, Penny versus Gainwell. Who do you guys like more? You guys know I like Gainwell more, but I think that Penny, like at 9.4, is a perfectly fine selection. If he stays healthy, he holds a ton of upside as well. All right, let me look here. I want to make a pick or two. Elijah Moore is on the board. But I'm not quite there. Oh. Man, yeah, it's been a weird draft tonight. Been a weird draft for me. I'm going to pair Kyler with Fields. Don't ask me why. And, wow. I mean, running backs are just... I mean, you got tons of rookie running backs hanging around. But the running back position is pretty ugly right now. From a redraft perspective. Fields and Kyler. How do you guys feel about that one? And like my receivers aren't even that. I only have 4 receivers. Been a weird draft for me tonight for sure. But that's why we mock draft like every night on the channel, right? Switch it up, see what happens, take some risks. I might go receiver with this next pick. But truthfully, I feel like Cole Kmet's the best player on the board. I can't believe we're not even in the 12th round. I have 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends on the board. For the rest of this draft, so we've got 4 more picks. I mean, obviously, I'm only picking running backs and receivers. And I'm going to need some depth for sure. So, let's see here. Penny is one of the most efficient backs in the league. 100%, nearly 6 yards per carry last season. Behind Philly's O-line, he should be great as long as he stays healthy. Yeah, I think the bigger caveat is the health part, right? Because Penny historically has had issues staying healthy. But I 100% agree with you. So, wow, and it's like crazy because Penny's been going into his 6th year in the league. It just does not feel that way because he's been hurt a lot. But Pete Carroll always loved Rashad Penny, like always wanted Penny to be the guy is what I felt, but obviously times have changed and Walker's your guy there, right? But he played 5 games last year, 10 games 2021, 3 games 2020, 10 in 2019, 14 in 2018. He's never played a full season. So, but I completely agree, and it's not just last year. You know, just over 6 yards per carry last year, but 6.29 in 2021. I'm not even going to count 2020. Only played 3 games, but 5.69 yards per carry in 2019, 4.93 in 2018. So I completely agree. Behind that Eagles offensive line, plenty to be optimistic about with Rashad Penny. I just love Kenneth Gainwell. Like I can't let go of Gainwell. I just can't do it. But I'll put it this way, right? Like I wanted Gainwell in tonight's mock, for example, right? Went Freiermuth, kind of upset, but it's okay. But if, you know, like let's say we're in the 9th round, right? I'm going to the 10th round and Gainwell gets taken at 9.8 there and Penny does not. I'm going into 10.11. Like I would definitely take Penny at that point. So I would just say as we're moving into those later rounds, if Gainwell's available, I'm going Gainwell first. And if he's not, then I'll still take Penny at the right price for sure. So let's kind of see how they continue to fluctuate in terms of ADP, I suppose. Thomas is a Seahawks fan. I loved Penny. He was explosive. Injuries suck. They do suck, man. And like, I feel like the Hawks, I feel like you guys have had a lot of injuries since Marshawn Lynch at the position. Carter. I mean, Chris Carter was like fantasy relevant when I started this channel. Like, just sucks, man. The neck injury. But yeah, then Penny, and you know, I'm not even I don't want to put any bad juju on Walker either. But yeah, I'm hoping that Walker kind of breaks that and is the guy for some time, right? But he'll be fine. What was he hurt in the? Was Walker hurt in the offseason, or am I crazy? But yeah, injuries, no fun. All right, I got to take a look here. Quarterbacks, we still got Danny Dimes, Rodgers, a couple of rookies, Jared Goff, Purdy. Some value there. So today, right, we had CJ Stroud Pro Day, right? JSN as well. So I don't know if you guys watching that. Let me know you guys' thoughts. I got to see some clips here and there throughout the day at work. But Josh McCown, who's your quarterbacks coach for the Carolina Panthers, also does some work with Underdog, which is cool. But had some interesting comments about when to CJ Stroud, when he lives in Charlotte. So I don't know. Maybe writing's on the wall there. I've heard some mixed things about the Panthers at number 1, but it definitely feels like from the mixed signals we're getting, it's Richardson or CJ Stroud, and I think that puts Bryce Young to the Texans. But if you guys watched the Pro Day or saw clips from it, let me know what you guys think. JSN looks great. I mean, there's even a world, right, where the Panthers somehow finagle a way to get Stroud and get JSN, which would be really interesting. And they're not the only team that could finagle a way to do so. So, see what happens. All right, what do I want to do with this next pick? It is the end of the mock draft for sure. I'm going to pick Zay Jones because things are ugly out here. Sean Alexander. I mean, who do you think is the best running back in Seahawks history, Thomas? Alexander or Marshawn Lynch? Interesting question, right? I think I got to go Marshawn. I feel like he was dominant for a little bit longer. But Sean Alexander, what was that one season he had? How many touchdowns did he have that year? I mean, dude was a monster. Absolute monster. Do I'm going to go receiver here. I just feel like at the end of this mock, I can snag up some dart throws at running back, especially rookies. I feel like I might as well go with another receiver here. There's actually some pretty decent receivers left, but I'll go Isaiah Hodgins because Danny Dimes seemed to like him in the red zone last year, and that helps out my receiving core of J.J. Godwin, Lazard, Pickens, Zay Jones, and Hodgins. That's a little sketchy, but I do like all those guys. I feel like if I got someone over Godwin, he's just a little bit more exciting. But Godwin had a great year. I mean, Baker's there. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too down on this receiver crew. But my running backs are an issue in a redraft format right now. Just 3 guys. So Emil says, I still think Carolina drafts Bryce Young. I thought about that too. Like, they got to do their due diligence, right? They got to go and see what's out there. And Young might still be the guy. I don't think that's crazy at all. But I don't know. I feel like the signs are starting to point towards Stroud being the guy there. So we'll see what happens. I won't be surprised if it's Young. All right, so Emil says Alexander. Taylor says Lynch. Thomas says a tough one. Tougher, I feel like, if you are a fan, right? Shane, what's good, my guy? What up? Shane says CJ at the 1.1. I feel like it's starting to look that way. We'll see what happens, though. Thomas John, can you tell me one positive thing about picking at the 1.12 in our Dynasty draft? Yeah, I mean, you get the double picks each round, which is always nice. So, listen, man, I wouldn't be too down on drafting from the 1.12. Like, I know you don't get, like, that top tier of the quarterback position, but especially if the right quarterback falls out, you can still get some pretty good value there. And the other advantage is, like, when you get back to the 3.12, 4.1, even the 5.12 and 6.1, there's going to be some good value at the wide receiver and running back position. So there is some positive notes in that sense later in the draft. So plus, I always like having the 1.1 or 1.12 because you get to plan 2 picks out at the same time, which is nice. So Like I said, if you can still probably get Watson and Kyler, Watson and Young, Dak Prescott and C.J. Stroud, like you can still get a good combination of a veteran and a youthful quarterback, right? And especially at a rookie quarterback. Or, if I were you, I would start practicing some of the mocks where maybe you go one quarterback receiver, one quarterback running back, or running back and receiver, and see what happens at the quarterback position if you can get guys like Goff, maybe Tua will probably be gone, but Goff, Danny Dimes, like Purdy, Geno, your guy, right? Russell Wilson, just kind of play around and see if that next tier quarterback starts to bleed out at a point where you can still get some decent play at the quarterback position. And maybe, because think about it, the 1.12, maybe you can get Bijan and Amon-Ra St. Brown, Bijan and Garrett Wilson, and just start off with a stud at each of those positions, right? All right. What's up, Huss? How you doing, man? We got the 420 Fantasy in the house. What's good, my guy? What up, what up? Appreciate you stopping by tonight. Always good to see you in the house. All right, I'm just going to draft. We'll go with Acne here, and then we'll pick another rookie running back to wrap this thing up, man. Am I the only one who's totally against drafting two quarterbacks? No, not at all. I mean, like, in a redraft format, I don't have a problem with going. I typically go one quarterback, but it depends on what quarterback it is. Like, if I'm drafting Fields and I go and draft Kyler Murray, I don't have a problem with that. Obviously, because Kyler's already hurt, but also because if it's a quarterback who runs, or if it's a quarterback who's injury prone, like last year, I was really vocal. Like, if you draft Lamar Jackson, if you draft even Russell Wilson, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, a quarterback who runs the football, it is okay to go out and get that Derek Carr, and this is in reference to last year, get a Kirk Cousins, just somebody at the end of the draft who gives you some stability in case of an injury. And I'll say the same thing about the tight end position, like with guys like George Kittle, for example, was really vocal about that last year, and he missed like the first 2 games of the season. So it just depends, because at running back and receiver, you're going to have that depth regardless. But when it comes to the quarterback and tight end position, you do kind of want to plan ahead. But like, yeah, if you just draft Joe Burrow, you're good. Start Joe Burrow every week. Stream on the bye week. If you just draft Josh Allen, start him every week. Justin Herbert, start him every week. And when the bye comes around, stream whoever the Jared Goff, Geno Smith is of the year, right? 420, I love a third round reversal, then doesn't let the number one pick get overly stacked. 100% agree, especially in Dynasty formats, which is what Thomas was referring to there. I don't know if that thought came from Thomas's comments there, him having the 1.12 in Dynasty, but I agree. I think the most even playing field in a Dynasty draft is with third round reversal. But we voted in our league, and third round reversal was voted against, so we're not rolling with it. But I do agree with you from that sense. Now, it'd be interesting. I've never done third round reversal in a redraft format, so I do think that could be interesting. But yeah, 100% agree, especially in Dynasty, because like you can come out of a draft with Patrick Mahomes, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and like Chris Olave right now. If the cards land right for you, which is like just an absolutely crazy start, or like Patrick Mahomes, Bryce Young, or Kyler Murray and Chris Olave, like you can, or like, I mean, I'm just naming endless stacks here, but like Josh Allen, C.J. Stroud, and Devonta Smith, or Hurts, Stroud, and Devonta Smith. Like you can just get like some crazy combos if you do draft in those first 3 or 4 picks, and there's no third round reversal. So I agree with you, man. Yeah, Carolina sent 11 representatives to Ohio State's Pro Day today, Shane, for sure. So interesting. We'll see what happens. I think it's kind of leaning Stroud as well. But Thomas says K9 and a solid receiver. Man, just imagine, just go all Seahawks. Go K9 and Metcalf. It'd be kind of crazy, but yeah. K9 and Wilson, K9 and St. Brown, Waddle. I mean, really, here's the positive. If you're looking at receiver from the 1.12, no third round reversal in a dynasty mock, like, you will probably be able to draft whatever receiver you want that's not JJ or Jamar Chase. So that's positive. you should be able to draft any running back you want, except maybe Bijan. But even then, I don't know if Bijan's going to go in the first. I think you have a pretty solid shot to get him. So, like, there's definitely going to be talent on the board that you can take advantage of. I would encourage you to try and run as many mocks from the 1.12 as you can. I know due to your work schedule, you haven't been able to hop in as many of our Dynasty mocks, but we can continue to try and just get you some practice from the 1.12 so you can try out different strategies with the community and not with the Sleeper app, right? So, but yeah, man. Shane makes a good point. You can always trade that pick too. So that is a good point. All right, let me get a sip of water and we'll start taking a look at some teams. Thank you guys so much for drafting with me tonight, getting this thrown together. So Emil's up first. Let's do it. What we do tonight, my guy. So let's take a look here. We've got Prescott and Rodgers at QB. I'm good at that. I mean, good late round value at the position. And a redraft format, I have no problem whatsoever with that quarterback room. You know, it's 1 year. You know, it'll be fine. Kelsey, say no more. You're good there, right? Pierce, Brian Robinson, Herbert, Singletary, Mostert, and Carter. So you don't go running back to the 5th round. And all things considered, I think you came out of this draft with a really good running back room. Redraft format, like we're just continuing to see like the last 2 years, like, you know, you want a reliable RB1. You want to be able to find, like, hopefully, you know, Josh Jacobs of the year, whatever. But if you have a reliable RB1, you can rotate that RB2 and emphasize the wide receiver position. So, you know, in the Catch Fam tournament, we're playing a double flex format. A lot of you guys are out there going, you know, full PPR, double flex. So there is a little bit more value to the receiver position or pass catching running backs. But ultimately, if you go mid-round, late-round running back, I don't have a problem with it whatsoever. So, T. Higgins, Hopkins, Kirk is beautiful. Nico Collins a good value. Hardman's a good value. McKenzie's a good value as well. So that's one thing we didn't touch on when we talked about the Elijah Moore news, right, is Mecole Hardman signed to the Jets. I think it's a great signing. Hardman was a guy last year, like, we talked about DPJ earlier, but when it came to the waiver wire, like, I was really strong on Hardman, like, right around this time frame, week 5, and then of course he got injured shortly after. But 12 points, 13 points, 28 points, missed a game, 19 points. Like, I was like begging you guys go pick him up after that big game against Las Vegas, and of course he got hurt shortly after. But yeah, I was sad to see Hardman not be able to come back and play the rest of the year, and I think he could have been a factor. Not that the Chiefs needed him, obviously, but it could have been a factor. So definitely a good replacement in terms of the Jets losing Elijah Moore, in my opinion. As long as he can stay healthy, that's always been the knock with Hardman, right? But anyways, you're starting Prescott and Kelsey, Higgins and D-Hop, Pierce and Brian Robinson, flexing Kirk. Then you're in a good position. Like, you've got some, you're going to have to figure out that second flex, probably Herbert to start the year, but you've got some flexibility, no pun intended. Singletary, Mostert, Collins, Hardman, McKenzie, Carter, and A-Rod sitting on the bench for you. So, all things considered, a good squad. How do you feel about it, my dude? Let's see. All right, Boss Man's up next. We got Burrow and Danny Dimes, say no more. Kyle Pitts, just once again, a great value. I don't even like Kyle Pitts, but at the 7.5, a good value. And Dawson Knox at the 15.5, another really good value. I know it was really large, like really big on Dawson Knox going into last year, and he had a really disappointing year going from tight end 8 to tight end 14. But he did heat up at the right time of the year with the touchdown in every game, weeks 14 through week 16. Unfortunately, didn't get to play in week 17, but also had a touchdown in week 18. So he got hot the right time of the year for what it's worth, but ultimately still a disappointing year. But I just feel like he's still tied to Josh Allen, and hopefully the Bills don't, regress this coming year. But ultimately, just a good value where he's going in mock drafts right now. Let's see here. At running back, we got Kenneth Walker, Swift, Dillon, Madison. Only 4 running backs, not the end of the world in a redraft format, but I actually think you got pretty good running back value, especially if Swift can stay healthy. And I still like A.J. Dillon a lot at the ADP he's going at right now. Receivers, we got Tyreek Hill, Devonta Smith, Juju, Mooney, Mechie, Downs. Yeah, good receiver value throughout this draft, especially if Downs goes to the right team. Mooney's really becoming interesting to me because obviously his value has gone down a little bit with DJ Moore there, and like I'm not personally really scared about Claypool. I think that Komet will be fine, but like the target share is going to go down. But if Mooney stays healthy this year, like I actually think the addition of DJ Moore could be really good for Mooney, and like him going at the 11.5. Like when I'm looking at the receivers in that tier, I definitely think Mooney still stands out to me. So I think he's a great value. Starting Burrow and Pitts, Walker and Swifty, as long as he's healthy. Hill and Smith, flexing Judy, and I'm going to say Mooney or Dillon. Listen, I'm happy Juju got a ring. I'm happy he got his bag, but I just don't like Juju Smith-Schuster from a fantasy perspective right now. Last year, I didn't dislike him, but I thought his value was maybe a little bit too inflated, and ultimately, he didn't have that bad of a year. Wide receiver 27, but just not a lot of consistency. And right when he started to heat up, we just talked about McCall Hardman was in that same time frame, and then he really took a large downturn, and then it was hard to trust him. And of course, he balled out against the Broncos of all teams who have a great secondary. So I'm just not crazy about him on the New England Patriots at the moment, but. Ultimately, core roster looks good to me. Good enough position in the flex and decent depth here as well. Some good value for you tonight as well. All right, coast to coast at the 1.8. We got Lamar and Purdy. I'm good with that. Obviously, at this point in the offseason, I think it's a little bit murky. But I would say regardless, like if you're drafting Lamar, you should draft a second quarterback. And I like Purdy's value right now, 13.8. If he's good to go, I think Purdy's going to be the guy. So we'll see what happens. Dolchich and Nkonkwo for going late round tight end. Very good value for you there, for sure. Hall, Connor, Algier, Gainwell. Oh, talk about some value, man. I love what you did at the running back position tonight. CeeDee Lamb, Debo. How do you guys feel about Debo? Like, let me know in the chat because it's... obviously missed some time last year, but just a strong regression after getting the bag, and I'm not saying that's why he regressed. Obviously, had some nagging injuries and, quarterback issues this year. I don't know. But went from your wide receiver 3 to 40. Strong regression there. So, regardless, at 3.8 is a fine value. Last night, he fell out a little bit further in that off-air mock we did. So, like, Debo at the right value, I think it's really interesting. Nonetheless, Christian Watson, J-Mo, Tony, Woody, and Marshall. So, yeah, I think Tony and Williams are really good value here. So, you're hopefully starting Lamar. We'll say Dolchich, but could be Nkonkwo at tight end. Hall and Connor, Lamb and Debo, flexing Watson and J-Mo for some upside. If you're not going upside, you got Algier, you got Gainwell, and you got Tony for some upside too. Plus a couple of other receivers, another tight end, another quarterback. I like this team a lot, man. Yeah, I think you hit on some really good value. And you're in a really good spot at the flex position. So I love that, man. Smoking a Cat's in the house. What's up, my dude? Hello. Always good to have you in the building, my dude. Appreciate you swinging by. Let's see. What did Marco do tonight? Hurts and Young. I think if you're going to take a flyer at one of those rookies, you might as well do it when you have Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patty Mahomes, Burrow. So I like that. Hawkinson, I'm good with. Roll with Hawkinson. Why not? Eckler, Gibbs, Dobbins, Jamal, Edwards. If Gibbs goes to the right team and starts hot, he might take a couple weeks to get rolling. It happens to the rookie running backs. But if Gibbs goes to the right team, man, I'm good at just Eckler and Gibbs. Then Dobbins, if he stays healthy. If Jamal can vulture enough touchdowns, you're in a good position here. But receivers look great, man. Garrett Wilson, Calvin Ridley, Dotson, Thielen, Osborne, Moore, Renfro. Great in terms of value tonight. Dotson, the 8.2. Osborne and Moore at the end of the draft I really like. Renfro is really interesting to me. Renfro was someone I was high on in full PPR going into last season. Obviously, massively disappointed. But at the same time, I think he hit on some pretty good value here. So I was starting Hurts and T-Hawk, Eckler, and Dobbins maybe to start the year. Wilson and Ridley, Dotson, and maybe Jamal. Maybe Gibbs. We'll see. So they got some depth at receiver and running back too on the bench. So yeah, good little squad. Let me know how you feel about it, man. Taylor. We got Herbie and Goff. Good there. I love that quarterback room, actually. Ingram at tight end. Mixon, Akers, Cook, Mitchell, and Tajay Spears. For not going running back to the 6th round and really loading up at receiver and getting your quarterback, I think you got really good running back value. I mean, we've got 5 running backs between the 6th and 11th round and a tight end sprinkled in there that I love. So, and you even got good receiver value in this draft. But Kupp, Amon-Ra, Olave, DJ Moore, DPJ, Palmer, Slayton. I think this might be my favorite team of the night. It's just very, very well balanced, and he hit on a ton of good value. Starting Herbert, starting Ingram, starting Kupp and St. Brown, Mixon and Akers. Then you're flexing Olave and DJ Moore. That still leaves you with Cook, Mitchell, Tajay Spears, DPJ, Palmer, and Slayton. Yeah, love this team, man. Really like that team. Great drafting tonight, man. All right, let's see. Oop, lost my spot. There we go. All right, Katz is up next. Katz said he didn't like his team beginning of the draft. Let's see how it turned out here. We got Allen and Njoku. Good with that. Barkley, Najee, Zach Charbonnet, Hunt, Bigsby, Tucker. I mean, if those rookies go to the right spot, you're in a really good position. Adams, Lockett, McLaurin, Deontay, Bateman, Moore, and Sky Moore. Yeah. I mean, nothing really like jumps out crazy here, but I think overall it's a pretty well-built team. Starting Allen and Njoku, Barkley and Najee, Adams and Lockett, flexing McLaurin, and whoever you want in the second flex. I mean, maybe Deontay to start the year, but like I said, Charbonnet, Bigsby, Tucker go to the right teams. You might be starting them. Then you got a lot of flexibility at receiver on the bench too, between Deontay, Bateman, Elijah Moore, and Sky Moore. So, I mean, I think for a redraft purpose, it's a good team, man. Yeah. Let's see. We're going to be able to trade startup picks. Yes, you are. Yeah, if you guys want to run a second draft, I can probably join one after this on Discord off air. So let me know if you guys want to run Dynasty. All right, let's see. We got Tua time. I will say if I'm drafting Tua, I'm probably drafting a second quarterback behind him. Even if it's Carr, Purdy, if it's CJ Stroud, just somebody, just in case. Right? Even if it's Mike White, I don't know about that. But listen, I believe in Tua. I think that the team believes in him. 50-year option exercise, all that. But just in case, all right? Waller and Hurst, I think, is okay. I would have maybe gone for... I mean, I think Hurst is fine, actually. Hurst had a pretty good year last year. Helped me out points. He did have some injuries last year, but let's see. 109 points last year. Yeah, not awful. Not awful. For the 15th round, that's fine. JT, Pollard, Rashad White, Penny, James Robinson, good running back value. Robinson scares me. Like, I don't know. Maybe he'll be utilized. Maybe he will be absolutely nothing. The 13th round, he's fine, though. Receivers, Waddle, Allen, Brown, Sutton, Davis, Boyd, Chark. Good receiver value throughout the draft, man. So, starting Tua and Waller, JT and Pollard, Waddle and Keenan Allen, flexing Hollywood, and I'm going to argue Rashad White or Penny, but you do have Sutton, Davis, Boyd, Robinson, Chark, and Hurst there. So, yeah, this is a good team. It's a well-built team for sure. Good depth. Like I said, I'd probably get another quarterback behind Tua. That's just me personally. But outside of that, I do like this team. I think you hit on good players throughout each round as well. Sutton's kind of a big question mark for me. Like, I personally like Pickens, even J-Mo just for the upside, or Dotson for the upside a little bit more. Some of those rookies. Caden went with Quentin Johnston, Flowers, and Addison, and Hyatt. And JSN, holy cannoli, which I like. But, you know, Sutton, we'll see. Maybe if he gets traded to the right team. So, Walito, I'm staying away from Debo at the current ADP with Lance or Purdy. I'll take Ayuk 2 or 3 rounds later. I do like Ayuk's value a lot more right now. He went at the 6.3 tonight compared to Debo at the 3.8. I agree. I like Ayuk's value more. Pauly Chips, the CMC in San Francisco. Debo will never do what he did again. Yeah, I mean, he was essentially a running back who played receiver, 2 years ago. And I agree. Especially since they're paying him so much money, like they don't want him to get hurt. They want to kind of lower that risk, right? Prey coming in here at the end. What's up, dude? Always appreciate you stopping by, man. Thank you so much for coming out to the stream, and we appreciate you, bro. So yeah, what's up, Prey? Being nice to you for once. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that'll wrap it up for the evening. So thank you guys so much, man. That was a great mock draft. Lots of good discussion tonight. Lots of good practice for you guys. And just most importantly, have fun with you guys. And I guess we'll take a look at my team. But make sure you guys hit that like button on the way out. If you guys are new to the channel, first of all, thank you so much. Hopefully you guys subscribed and enjoyed the stream. But check out the links down below. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and join our Discord. Those are the best places to reach me, as well as the best places to get community updates, as well as mock drafts and our off-air mock drafts, which we run a ton of throughout the week as well. So Justin Fields, Kyler Murray. I might actually really like that quarterback room going into next year in a redraft format, probably even in a dynasty format, if I could add in the right rookie too. Freiermuth and Komet, I'm good with. Love that. JJ, Godwin, Pickens, Lazard, Jones, Hodgins. Like, I like this receiver room, but I just wish I had one more receiver who kind of, I don't know. Like, instead of Godwin, like, if I could have just landed, like, Christian Kirk or DJ Moore, I would have been really happy, right? So maybe I should have gone receiver over ETN, but I kind of wanted that upside at running back with Derrick Henry there. You know, just I feel like Henry, whether he's on the Titans or not, is going to hold a lot of consistency, but I just wanted a little bit of upside after going Henry. So Henry, ETN, Pacheco, I love personally. But then I didn't go running back again until the end of the draft. Ackney and Evans just scooped up 2 rookies. So that's the weakest part of this team, just in terms of depth, right? So, but I just felt like when Kyler was there, he was the best player available. When Komet was there, he was the best player available. If I did go running back at that point, and let's say I didn't go Kyler, like there was, I mean, a couple more rookies, Michael Carter, Chuba Hubbard, James Robinson, Hunt. Like, there just wasn't much available. So I really just went best player available there. And I felt like there was still enough depth at receiver, like maybe Darnell Mooney, Osborne, or Rondell Moore. But I still got Jones and Hodgins, so I feel pretty good about. So ultimately, I'd be starting Fields and Freiermuth, or Fields and Komet. JJ and Godwin, Henry and ETN. Then in the flex, like I got Pacheco, Pickens, Lazard, leftover tight end, Jones, Hodgins, and 2 rookie running backs. So ultimately, I do feel like it's a pretty good build, but it's just a different build and an interesting build for the night. But I think things turned out okay, actually. So, Taylor, thank you, man. Appreciate you drafting tonight, my dude. Pray. Love you, man. Thanks for coming out tonight, my dude. So that'll wrap it up, guys. Pray, Taylor, Polychips, Walito, Boxing the Jack, Shane, Cats, Marco, Spoke of the Cat, Coast to Coast, Bossman, Emil, 420 Fantasy Hustler Network. Make sure you guys go check out Huss's channel. Go drop him a sub. Does some great content. Does a ton of live streaming as well. Good guy. Go check him out. Chase Wellner. And everyone else who stopped by, everyone else who hung out tonight. Thank you guys so much for coming out to the stream, spending part of your night here at the channel. Thank you guys. If you did draft with me tonight, if you guys were not able to, we run mock drafts almost every single night here on the channel and on Discord. So make sure you guys join our free Discord and come out to the next mock draft. But thank you guys for spending part of your night here at the channel. Like always, man, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Check out the links down below. Appreciate you guys, man. Love you guys. Love this community. Love the Catch fan. And I will talk to you guys soon. Sounds like we might be running an off-air mock draft, so make sure to hop over on Discord right now. So with that, I will say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on the Catch. And peace.